Then all of those proteins turn into things like earth and stone, plants and creatures, and even air and water, things you don't think the sunlight does. Sunlight creates the what? Life in air and the life in water. When you hear from the ancients talking about the electromagnetic frequency in the air, the prana, guess what? They're talking about the electric frequency coming from the sun. Now, there's another energy we'll talk about later. Biology, in its purest original sense, maintained a balanced interconnectedness that formed the cycle of life on this planet. In all that I've read over the years and all the degrees I've gotten, nobody talked about the cycle of life. I had to see The Lion King. So Walt Disney got it, but obviously biologists don't get it. There is this constant cycle of life. And if you saw why we all love The Lion King, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's not a child's film. It's a beautiful film. It shows you how everything is dependent upon everything else. But you're dependent upon the earth. The earth is dependent upon you. And by the way, the earth is dependent upon the universe, and the universe is dependent upon the earth. Human development. Evolution provoked the development of humans and the anatomical so-called advancement of the brain. Talked about this the other day. What we do know for sure, there's some things we really know in biology that it's not challenging. That the average person uses no more than 4% of our brain. Okay, so digest it. So when you feel dumb, you are. When we feel confused, we are. They think Einstein probably used 10% of his brain. We literally have his brain in formaldehyde in some basement in Princeton, New Jersey. So someday we'll have the ability as neuron scientists to look at that, not me, but somebody will, and say, hey, he really was using 10%. Now, there was a time in human history, period, that this organ we call the brain was being used at 100% or close to. No question. No. There is no organ in the human body that ought not to be used at 100%. You ever say, hey, let me use 3% of my heart? No way, you die instantly. My liver, you die. So the brain, which is an organ, it's what we call the jumping board for consciousness and thought. But it's an organ. It's no different than a heart, no different than anything else. Matter of fact, what they've shown is they took a chicken heart out and they kept it alive for 40 years without it being in the body. You know that? Because it has a life 40 years. It has a life of its own. And a life of its own. Each cell has a life of its own. Then it comes together as a brain, comes together as everything else. So with that said, the brain is not being used nearly at all at this point. So this is why we have war, hatred, sexism, racism. We're confused, we do dumb things, we crap where we live, because we just don't get it. We don't smell the roses, see the big picture, and we're getting stuck in a closet thinking the boogeyman is coming after us. And they like you to be in those conditions. That's why they shake you down at the airport now. I get massages every time I go to the airport, because I won't go through those machines anymore. They always give me the same story. The poor minimum wage employee there is telling me, don't worry, we were told this is perfectly safe. As their brains were being zapped on a daily basis, being next to that 8 hours a day. Our need to create the perception of solidity forced us to remove ourselves from the energy imbalance of all other planetary biology. This is where we became savage, started to kill animals, drink their milk. We'll control them. We're out of control. We'll feel like real men. Go out and just kill them. Bastards. Why are they taking up space on this planet? Sarah Palin, I read something recently I couldn't believe. I had to read it in her book. She said, we aren't supposed to eat meat. Why are there so many animals around? A heartbeat, almost the president of the United States. 3 or 4% of our brain. You hear me? And a lot of people that like her, 45% of the public like her, think she's great, great leader. You're lost people. All other planetary biology. We destroy the Earth, we can't figure it out. Elements and structure. This is how we have estranged ourselves from the ionics of realization and well-being. A lot of words, what does that mean? What does the word ionic mean? Electrically charged. Ionics mean electrically charged. What's realization? understanding. So electrically charged understanding, and what does well-being? Everything's good. So what I'm saying there, in plain, straightforward English to you now, is electromagnetic understanding of your well-being. So the future of modern medicine, like it or not, we're going to drag them there. They're going to scream and kick and yell, tell us we're wrong, and we're esoteric. That's what always happens when the truth comes at first. It's first attacked, and then what happens second? Criticized, and before you know it, everyone says, oh yeah, we always do that. So that's the position we're in at this point. The world and the universe is little dots of electric that are vibrating constantly, which you can't see because they're moving at what speed? Some become Joe and some become Mary. And it's really what you are. And until we pull the veil down and start to treat people as we have for more than 30 years at Hippocrates with electromagnetic frequency, with now laser frequency, really 25 years ago I had lasers, I threw them all out. They didn't work. Now we brought lasers in 3-4 years ago. These things work like you can't believe. Marron. That's the Italians. Any of you Italian here? Say marron. Say whoa. Because electromagnetics is great. It's sort of massaging the cell. Wonderful. But guess what laser is today? We're now finally capturing the frequency of the sun. So what a laser is. So we get deeply into that frequency. So here we have the confused cell that's mutated. Maybe it's cancer moving in the wrong direction. But then I get right to the core of that cancer with a frequency that moves probably close to, probably 3 or 4 million times faster than the wings. We're not quite there yet at 5. What it does is start to slap the cell and bring it back to normality again. So when we use these technologies, we have $3 million worth. You should see what happens rapidly. Now, human development. Nutrition is a key biological force and a clear example of how energetic totality works. Again, what are the words energetic? We're talking about everything is energetic. Totality means everything. The electric totality of everything. Now, why do you think living food is so important? Why do you think that brings, I talk to 99 out of 100 living fooders. They don't really know why living food makes them healthy and young. They tell me, oh, it's nutrition, it's got this, it's got that, it's got this, it's got that. What is it? Frequency. Frequency. That happens to work. Proper living food, and we're going to talk about the difference between raw food and living food, works at the same frequency that the wings 5 billion times faster. Do you follow me? So what you're doing is plugging into the universe of energetic totality. In mystical or spiritualistic form, the God. Boom. Totality of energy. That's what you're tapping into. Now, how about if I pick a head of lettuce in Northern California and I ship it down here and you eat it a week later? How much energy do you think that has? How about a sprout growing at the time you bite into it? Do you follow me? Major energy. Major energy. Now, yes, we take algae that's frozen. Does it have the same level of energy if I went up to Clement Lake and drank it out of the water? No. But the reality is these are the highest energies. Last night we discussed edible weeds. Edible weeds also have a very high frequency of energy. Ironically, we pull them out of our gardens and put inferior vegetables. You want to eat something that has high frequency? Weeds do. Weeds have an enormous amount of high frequency. We also talked the other day about a guy in New York City that does weed walks in Central Park. He actually goes out and shows people for 8 months a year in New York, if everything closed, if there were no food left, you'd live in total health by picking weeds from Central Park. Now, Central Park is okay, but can you imagine how much better it is in Southern California? Now here's where we go back to the phosphorus sheathing. What differentiates you from every other human being? And as of yesterday, there were 7,314,057,057 people on Earth as of yesterday. And every one of those people's difference is DNA and chromosomes, and every bit of those are surrounded by, every one of your cells surrounded by phosphorus. And you're going to learn why. why this is important. What phosphorus does, it creates transference and assimilation of light particles. A lot of words, what does that mean? It attracts light, it attracts frequency, and allows it to come into the cell. So how do we get nutrition? Now you've been told you get vitamins, you get minerals, you get protein, you get essential fats, and they come into your body from the food. What your body's after is the electromagnetic frequency of the food. And what makes the nutrients come in, the electromagnetic frequency of the food come in, is the phosphorus sheathing around your cells. Not because I say so, because we know so. This is a major breakthrough in the field of biology. So, again, your body is not after the nutrients. And by the way, anything with high frequency has the highest what? Protein, the highest vitamins, the highest minerals, but that's mundane stuff. That's not as important as the light particles, the assimilation. How many of you were with us the other night when I showed the photographs that were done by Dr. Hunt in 1983? Amazing stuff, isn't it? Actually, so that was yesterday. Actually shows when you eat raw food, your electromagnetic frequency visibly increases with chromium photography. When you eat dead food, guess what happens? Completely reverses. The only materials that pass through phosphorus sheets are light particles of the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and chemicals, unfortunately. So man-made chemicals have mimicked frequency so high that your cell now is picking up large amounts of heavy metals and chemicals. So why are we today dying of cancer, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, ALS, autism? Is because unfortunately chemicals and heavy metals have mimicked light particles.